Mr. Speaker, today a bipartisan group of 46 freshman members of this 115th U.S. Congress, representing red and blue states from coast to coast, released a document that we've entitled The Commitment to Civility. This evening, I'm grateful to be joined on the floor by 21 different leaders of our class, representing diverse districts in 15 different states across our great nation, to speak to this important and very timely issue. This commitment document was created in early January following our initial meetings together as a class. We discussed our mutual intent to serve the best interests of the country and to return to statesmanship that was revered and modeled by the great leaders of our history. I drafted this document to memorialize our members' agreement to, among other things, work towards restoring collegiality and civility in the Congress, encouraging more productive dialogue, and building consensus and strengthening the public's trust in America's institutions. This document is not intended in any way as a criticism of anyone else in any other chamber or branch of the government. Rather, it represents the mutual commitments of the members of our class that we have made among and between ourselves. As we teach our own children, we often have no control over what others may do, but we are ultimately responsible for our own actions. Personally, I want to say how encouraging it is to work with others from across the political spectrum who want to lead by example and work to restore civility in our public discourse. There may never have been a more important time for that very important effort. I'm one who's regarded as probably being among the most conservative members of the Congress, and I will never deviate from my core principles. However, I am mindful to always remember that while some of my colleagues and I may have very different ideas and core political philosophies, at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we're all made in the image of God, and thus we believe we should act accordingly. Before my esteemed colleagues come to share their thoughts on this important subject, I'd like to introduce and read into the congressional record the document we refer to as the Commitment to Civility. It reads as follows, quote, "As new members of the United States House of Representatives and as individual citizens, we recognize the gravity of the responsibility we've been given and the significance of this moment in the history of our extraordinary country. America remains the most free, most powerful, and most prosperous nation in all the world, and yet we face significant challenges. Among these challenges has been an increasing division in and coarsening of our culture, fueled too often by the vitriol in our politics and public discourse. One result has been loss of trust in our institutions and our elected officials. We believe there's a better alternative. Although we represent both political parties and a wide range of individual views across the political spectrum, our common and sincere aims are to serve the needs and interests of the American people, to work with one another and the leaders of our respective parties, to encourage greater confidence in our institutions, and to set an example of statesmanship for the younger generations of Americans that will follow. To this end, we are dedicated to showing proper respect to one another and all others, encouraging productive dialogue, and modeling civility in our public and private actions. While we may vehemently disagree on matters of law and policy, we will strive at all times to maintain collegiality and the honor of our office. We believe that a leader can be cooperative and conciliatory without compromising his or her core principles, and we will remember that our political rivals in Congress are not our enemies, but rather our colleagues and fellow Americans. We also believe that maintaining a spirit of mutual understanding and cooperation will help make government work more efficiently and effectively, help build consensus and restore the public trust, and ultimately serve as a positive influence on society at large. For all these reasons, we hereby pledge our names to this commitment to civility on this 10th day of January 2017 in Washington, D.C." Unquote. And the document is signed by 46 incoming members of the 115th Congress.